started in this tutorial with setting up our character with Constraint to hold a weapon. So I found this character online doing a search, and I got it off of Turbo Squid. It was 35 bucks. And there are some other options down here if you want to check those out as well. They get a little bit more complex as they go up here. Alright, so this is the guy we're going to use. And I liked him. He has a facial rig on it as well, so we can do some expressions. Right, so he did not come with this sword here, so this was a freebie that I downloaded. Again, I'll come back here, and you can go under 3D models and select free models and type in sword and choose something that you want. I chose a pretty basic one here that I thought fit the style of the character. And I brought it in and scaled it, and we're going to go through the process of setting up a locator right now and constraining it to the character's hand. Alright, so if you look at the character, I've got over here, I've got it set up in FK, forward kinematics. This is the little toggle right here. Okay, when the character first opened up, it was in IK for the hands, and I'm going to switch it over to FK. So if you come over here, there's a switch up here, and it's actually not a switch, you can blend. So a middle mouse dragging out here, and you'll see it drag up to 10, so that's completely switching over to FK. And then you can do a blend in here, and then this is all the way 0 is for IK. So I'm going to switch it all the way over to 10, and then you'll notice that the controllers didn't pop on with it, so you actually have to come down here, and this is View IK Controllers, so I'm going to just middle mouse drag, turn those off, and then View FK Controls, so you can just type a 1 in here. So 1 is usually on, 0 is off. Okay, so now you can see the controllers are on now for FK. Alright, so let's go ahead and get a locator on here. So we're going to set this up, and I'm going to create a layer here. So this character also came with some additional props. It came with this messenger bag and a backpack right here, and I'm taking those off right now. I may come back and put them on later, but for now I want to just take them off, get the character set up, and move forward with that. So I just created individual layers. So this is the backpack, and it looks like I missed this little brace right here, so I'm just shift selecting those, coming over here, right mouse clicking and saying add selected. Okay, so those turned off there, and then turning off the messenger bag, and I'm going to create a layer also for the sword right here. So I'm just going to do this, double click, and doing an underscore here. So you need to put an underscore in the edit layer. It doesn't like spaces, it won't accept that, so put an underscore sword. And I usually leave layer in here, so the edit layer doesn't want to see anything over here that's using the same. So if I just put sword here, I would have a conflict with it over here. So I usually just leave layer, I put an underscore, and then put whatever the object is right there. Okay, so just saving that. And I'm also going to take this one right here. So this one actually has a controller on it, as well as the mesh, and shift select that. Also putting this on a layer. And the spear, and then I'm just going to turn that off and drag that down here. Alright, so back up here, let's go ahead and create a locator. So we're going to constrain the sword to the character's left hand, and the way we are going to go about doing that is, instead of just positioning it in here and constraining this to a controller, that doesn't really give us the kind of flexibility that we need. So we're going to come under here and create a locator. Okay, and it pops down here on the origin. And And we're just going to bring it up here in place, roughly where the hand is going to be holding it. And I'm going to hold V down. This is going to allow me to snap to vertices. Okay, so I'm going to snap it to the middle of the sword right here. So it looks like it's lined up in the middle, and then I'm just going to drag it up into position right about here. So I'm lining it up roughly where the character's hand is going to wrap around it. Okay, so I may want to place it here in the center, depending on where the character is going to place his hand. I'm actually going to have him grip it up here a little bit closer. So I'm going to do that. And then I've got the locator selected here. I'm going to just shift and select the sword. And then I'm going to hit P on the keyboard, so that's going to parent it right here. Okay, so parenting is just an edit option right here. You can parent and unparent. Okay, so we've got that parented now, and I'm just going to call this locator sword. Okay, and actually I've got them reversed, so let's unparent this. I'm just going to actually drag this out, and we want to select the locator, actually child first, so sword to locator, and then just go through the menu right here and do that. Okay, we can open that up, and we see the sword underneath the locator. So now if I select the locator and I move it, the sword's going to go with it. Okay, that's what we want. All right, so now we're going to parent the locator to the wrist joint. We're not going to do it to the controller out here. In the event that I want to switch over to IK, if I have it parented to this, I'm going to lose all my animation there in terms of switching it over. All right, so we want to parent it to the joint. So to look at the joint, we need to actually turn the visibility on. That's usually located here on the main controller. This is called the world controller down here on this particular rig. And under here I can see joint visibility. It's set to 0, so we're going to type a 1 in there and hit enter, and that should have turned it on. Let's go ahead and go to shading and X-ray joints, and there they are. So if the joints are showing up really large, sometimes they do that, and you want to scale them down, you can go under display, animation, joint size, and these are actually down to 0.04, but let's say they came in at 1, which is pretty standard. That's what it would look like. Okay, so it's pretty hard to select the correct joint when they're overlapping like that. So I'm going to put 0.05 in there just to scale it down to something reasonable. Okay, I can close that out. And now I'm going to parent constraint this. So it's different than parenting. So this is a parenting right here. We're actually going to do a parent constraint. So under your animation menu set, you have constraints right here. So it's going to be this parent constraint right here. We're going to open up the option box and put that right there. Okay, so let's go ahead and pose it now. I'm going to grab this and rotate it. Turn it a little bit here, and let's get it into position. Alright, so he's going to grip it up right about there. And it can take a little while to get the pose on the hand looking natural. Okay, so I want to make sure that it's nice and tight up in here and not intersecting too much. So I'm actually going to angle it down a little bit, and that looks about right there. Okay, yeah, so it's making contact right there. And let's go ahead and get the grip with the fingers here. So you'll notice that the finger controls are also not on. Let's go ahead and just move this down here for right now. And we need to turn those on. So, okay, so I'm going to select the controller right here for the fingers. And this brings all the channels up here for the different fingers. and the joints going down each one of the digits here. So you can see that the visibility is turned off for the controllers. So I'm just going to come in here and turn these on. And the pinky right there. All right, so there they are. And okay, so let's go ahead and pose this. So I'm going to start with these middle ones right here and rotate them down like that. Just curling those in. Okay, and I think we can actually grab the ones up here too. There we go. And this is already starting to intersect right here, so and I think I'm going to come back to the locator here and do a little bit of a rotation like that. Okay. So just take your time setting up whichever sword or weapon that you end up choosing, and get the fingers into place. And I'm looking for the next one down here. There we go. And that went a little too far. All right, so just making contact there and grabbing this one now. All right, so that one went too far. Okay, and then also just pay attention to the angle as well as the spacing. So we've got a little bit of spacing here. We're going to probably remove some of that. And that was a little too far. Okay, and the thumb actually looks pretty good the way it is. So the thumb's got a controller that's tucked up in under here, and since we have the joints on, you can actually see the joints that it is affecting. Okay, so we can kind of pull this out a little bit more here. All right, and I think we'll bend these in here a little bit more so he doesn't look like he's got a loose grip on it. We want to make sure he's holding this tight. Okay, so we've got that spread going on here with the fingers, so I'm going to bring these forward. There we go, it's starting to look good. All right, this one probably went in just a little too far. Okay, so let's get back out here and take a look at that. All right, so that looks like he has a pretty nice grip on there. So now we're going to do the parent constraint. Okay, so I'm actually going to select the joint first. So that is the wrist joint right there where the fingers come off of. So we're going to select that, and then we're going to come down here and shift select the locator, and then in the parent constraint window we just want to make sure that we've got translate all and rotate all, and just go ahead and apply that. Okay, so you can see now under here we've got this kind constraint going on. So let's go ahead and test that out. And we'll grab the controller up here now. So this controller is also constrained to the wrist. Okay, so it should be moving with it. Okay. Alright, so that's what we want. Alright, so let's go ahead and turn the visibility off on our joints. We don't need to see those. Turn that off. Okay, and then let's go ahead and save the scene. And I'm going to just do save scene as. Make sure I'm out here in my scenes folder. And this one was called setup. And I'm going to just call this Anim version 01. So we're going to, actually this is going to be the idle. And version 01. Okay, make sure it's .ma and you're not switching over to my binary, and just save your scene. Okay, all right, great. So we'll come back in the next lesson and we'll pose the character for the idle pose.